excited today to be here with my friend Gloria Castellanos.
Yes.
It's a pleasure. I called her the other day and I'm like, Gloria, I want you to be my first woman on the podcast.
I was like, geez, girl, that's a lot of pressure.
And here we are in her beautiful office, and she looks gorgeous as always.
Thank you, babe. Thank you so much for having me, and it's an honor to be a part of this with you. And first of all, I just want to thank you and honor you for doing this and following your dreams on reaching people and empowering people and loving on others, because I know we haven't gotten a chance to interact very much, but the little that I know about you is so grand and big, and I just love your vision and I love what you do for others. So thank you for having me and having me be a part of this.
Thank you so much. That means the world. Gloria, I met her just a few months ago, and I saw this amazing Latina woman that was just killing it in real estate here in the Beverly Hills area. And I just thought, it just made me so proud of you, like not even really knowing you, but I love watching people succeed. And I love watching my people, strive to high levels. And, it just made me so proud. And I knew there would be an interesting story through your life. And I would love to start with that. Like, why don't you go ahead and just share a piece of your story? And I'm sure that we could be here for hours,
right?
But anything that you'd love to share with us, we would love to hear.
So, yes, I mean, thank you for that. And people see me here in Beverly Hills, and I work for one of the most amazing companies that I am so proud to be a part of in Beverly Hills. But I didn't start at the top. I didn't start in Beverly Hills. My career actually started from the bottom, being a telemarketer, and my career really took off in the lending side. So I was a lender for a little bit over 6 years. But I started from the bottom. I started being a telemarketer, then I became an assistant.
Which, if for people that haven't been in telemarketing, I mean, that is
brutal.
Hardcore sales. That is to me real sales. I did it for a couple of years, so I can relate. And but how much it has served you through your career, I'm sure. But it is brutal.
Brutal. Like, the fact that it didn't scare me away, it's a miracle just by that alone, to be honest with you. So is a mentor of mine at the time had planted the seed in my heart that, I was like, what, Gloria, you would be good in real estate. You need to stop doing what you're doing. And before real estate, I know you don't ask me this, but I mean, it's a whole another world. So I was born here in LA. However, I was raised in TJ, and I came to LA when I was 12 years old. Lived with my grandma, and long story short, I've been on my own since I was 15 years old. So wow. I was quickly thrusted into survivalship, into entrepreneurship since a very, very young age. I mean, I look at 15-year-old little girls nowadays, and I'm just like, God, how did I make it through? So wow. I literally had to quit high school. I had to take home studies. I had to work 3 to 4 jobs, and became an entrepreneur basically overnight, just hustling to survive. So real estate came after.
Here's this, you're in your youth, most 15, 16-year-olds, that is not the responsibility that they have of figuring out a way to live and survive. And here you are, just with your grandma's support, right?
Yeah.
And having to really take care of yourself, which no 15 or 16-year-old, for the most part, is having to do. Like, that in itself is just not a normal life.
And to be honest with you, I don't see it any other way. I did not know what normal was. I used to literally sometimes go home crying and be at home crying and be like, I would love to be a normal 15, 16-year-old, like, and, but no, I had to do whatever it took to survive at that point. And so what I started doing then, I had my first business when I was 16. I had my first little business card when I was 16.
What was it? I'm curious.
So I did many things, but what really was my kind of like focus and like my little hustle at the time was I used to throw backyard parties, and I used to charge $3 an entrance. Because I mean, think about it. I was 16 years old. I didn't have any curfew. I didn't have, parents looking after me. So I was like, okay, how do I monetize where I am, what I'm doing? Because I knew all of these 16-year-olds.
And you knew your audience.
I knew my audience. And so at this time back then, I was renting a room from this single mom, and she had 2 sons, and she would work at night. So I would have the parties at night. And anyway, long story short,
and clean everything up before she.
Well, she knew.
She knew. Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
She got her percentage. But that's how my hustle started at that point. And I just always been very blessed to have really good people come into my life. And during that season in my life, I met this businessman that was very big in the mortgage business. And okay, so from doing backyard parties, I went into doing nightclubs. I went into doing my own events. I went into doing concerts before real estate. So concerts, like big concerts, like, some of the big celebrities that I brought back then was Celia Cruz, Melcochita, Oscar de Leon.
Oh my gosh,
so,
that's awesome.
Yeah, a little
curveball.
I have
no idea. You get cooler and cooler by the minute.
So that's a little backstory before my real estate career started. And that was a very difficult industry, very male dominated. And, so it was very hard. And during that time, I had this businessman mentor, and he would tell me, over and over again, he's just kept on planting the seed in my heart, saying, you know what, Gloria, people love you. People are gravitated towards you. You bring in all these crowds. Why don't you get into real estate? And he was in mortgage at the time, and he said, if you get your license, or you want to start the business, I'll help you, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, he planted the seed, and that's how it all kind of just started. One day that I just had it, after failure after failure in the promoting world. And, being, like I said, being a woman was very tough. Collecting, sometimes they wouldn't pay you because what am I going to do? What are you going to do? Your dad.
Oh my gosh.
So it was a whole different.
It's like real hustle.
It was a hustle, yeah. And in the meantime, I was doing other things. So I decided, you know what? Let me give real estate a chance. And I picked up the newspaper one time, and I just saw that somebody was hiring for a telemarketing, and I went for a job interview, and I took it, and I thought that was real estate. I was just like,
which I mean, kind of it. It's like
I mean, just last year was my 19th year in the business. So this is like 19 years ago, right?
Oh, wow.
So there was just no resources or tools like there is today, or background checks, right? So, I mean, it all started from there. And one thing just led to
what kind of
another.
leads were you calling for all of our real estate friends too? I mean, phone book, or what were you calling?
Honestly, I don't even remember. I try not to even remember that episode of the business.
You have blocked it out of your life.
I blocked it out of my memory.
Yeah.
Because it was just like
cold calling.
It was
brutal. Yeah.
Hardcore.
Wow.
And then I became an assistant to a top agent, and then I I got introduced to this man that ended up being my mentor for almost 7 years and beyond. He's still, to this day, a friend of mine. And he was a lender. He was a broker. He had his own firm, a small boutique lending firm, and he gave me a chance. I became his assistant, and then from being an assistant, he pushed me to being a loan processor, and then he pushed me to being a loan officer, and just kind of just took off from there. So I'm very grateful for him to had given me the opportunity. And I remember when I interviewed with him, he asked me, okay, how do you picture yourself, Gloria? Who is Gloria 10 years from now? And like, these are the type of questions that, you know, he would instill in me, and he would ask me and just make me curious and really push me to grow. So I'm very grateful for him. And I think people that do that in our lives are very important because they nurture our future, right?
It only takes one person to really believe in you.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they believe in you more than you believe in yourself at the time.
Absolutely.
And it just changes your life. Because I've had people like that in my life too. And I'm like, you were literally like an angel to me, you know?
Absolutely.
From him just asking you the right questions for you to dream bigger, envision your life, you know, much more than like, what's next for me? You know, it was like further and further. They're just like, some mentors are just angels, you know?
He would literally come and say, I want you to listen to the stack of CDs. And back then it was all CDs. He was just like booking CDs. You need to listen to this. You need to read this book. You need to read that. Like, he really, you know, took the time to believe in me and just really mentor me. And I would stay after hours when he would have appointments, and I would like sit in the opposite office and just listen to his conversations. And you know, that's how I would learn. I mean, nowadays there's so many tools, there's seminars and coaches and this and that. Back then it was like, you figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, you figure it out.
From the bottom. Wow. That's so impressive.
Yeah.
And how cool that you still have this relationship with him. I think that's beautiful.
Absolutely. I mean, I honor him, and I mean, he knows, and hopefully he gets a chance to listen to this and know that I'm very grateful for him, because a big portion of who I am today is thanks to all the tough love that he gave me.
Yeah. Aw, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
Of course.
You know, a big part of you that I've seen, you know, even through social media or just some of the ways I get to follow you, I've noticed that you're really about giving back to the community. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I really wanted to create this podcast to help inspire other people to put fulfillment before anything else, because you can have all the success in the world and be super unhappy. And I know that, you know, a lot of times people that I see have joy in their lives somehow are also giving back to the community or helping other people. And that just really brings that love and joy. And so I really noticed that in you, that you spend a lot of your time in giving back. And I know that you have a nonprofit foundation called Sunshine Alegria Outreach.
Yes.
And so I would love for you to share with us, you know, what that's all about, and maybe even how we can get involved, because I just think it's amazing. So tell us about this nonprofit.
Well, my father is a former pastor, so I'm a pastor's child, known as a PK kid. It doesn't mean anything, because we all have issues. And so I grew up in the church, and I grew up giving, and I grew up around just seeing my father just be so available and giving to the community and to others. And so my heart has always been to give to others. And however, it wasn't really until I got older that I said, you know, I'm going to formally make this something that is going to be more consistent. And so that's how Sunshine Alegria came about back in 2006. And really it just started with my family and my brothers, and some friends, and we would just like pack up a truck and, you know, and load it up with stuff and go over to TJ. And I go to TJ and I started there because this is where I grew up, this is where I was from, and this is where my heart is, and this is where me as a child back then, I want to be that person to that little Gloria, right?
Yeah.
So that's how that started. And till this day, it's still not as big as I would have loved it for it to be, because life is busy. You know, I have other things going on and stuff. But so we do that. It went from being every quarter to being more of an annual thing that I do towards the end of the year. And as soon as I either post about it or I share it, you know, so many people want to be a part of it, and so it's not something very much that I announce too much to the world, just because I know that it could be big in a minute, right? Instantly, and I would love it for it to be that big eventually. But yeah, I really just go to churches or orphanages or communities. I mean, literally last year we just went into the red light district, and in the trucks we parked and we started saying toys, knocking on the doors, literally within minutes, just kids out of the neighborhood started coming out and we're giving toys away. I mean, it was just, I can't explain it. It's something that you have to experience and be there. And I always try to give some words of motivation or inspiration, or even a prayer, or whatever it may be at the moment, if it's appropriate. But that's really just what we do. And I just try to inspire these children and let them know that they're loved and that they're not alone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm sure that during some of those moments, it's definitely, you know, brought overwhelm to you and emotion from seeing these kids that don't have parents, you know, from like an orphanage, and here they are, and they're so excited that you're giving them like a used toy or a used something, you know, and just how different life is, you know, in different places of the planet and in different neighborhoods, even in the same city. Just that joy, you know, of fulfillment.
Yeah.
And people just choosing to be happy for something that is
Yes.
like
you go into these neighborhoods, they don't have
others.
AC, they don't have flooring in some of these houses. I mean, it fills you with so much love, and just reminds you and reminds me time and time again that like there's more to life than just material things and working hard. And you know, there's somebody out there just enjoying their life with the little that they have. So, and I find joy
definitely
that
grounds you, right?
it
like it always
grounds you,
grounds me,
you know. But me to see, just to be able to give to somebody in any form, whether it's a gift or even a smile, sometimes even a hug, sometimes you don't have to give words to anybody. You just, you know, give them a hug, give them a smile, is just giving the best of you, right? And I mean, the life that I've had has taught me a lot, and has given me a lot of has given me eyes of compassion, you know. That's the best way I can say it. You know, I see when somebody's struggling, or somebody is sharing a story or anything intimate with me, I feel it. I feel their pain, I feel their sorrow, I feel their whatever I try to see their life through their eyes, to be able to be there for them and meet them at where they're at, you know, rather than judging them or ignoring them or whatever, you know. So we all need love, right?
We all want to be loved. You know, there's a quote, and I don't remember exactly who said it, but it says, if you judge somebody, you can't love them.
Mm-hmm.
And so the moment that you choose to judge that person or the situation, you completely block the love that you can give.
Right.
And you know, I love that you have that empathy for people, just to see them through your optics of, because you've been from the bottom, you know, you've experienced all the hardships and a lot of things. So what a beautiful heart you have.
Thank you, love. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. And so I know that, you know, it seems like you could take this big, and once you're ready, we're all here to support you, girl.
Yes.
And then meanwhile, I mean, I think that it's such an inspiring, motivating way to just tell people, like, you guys can go do this too, you know, like
you don't need very much. I mean, literally, like, just between me and my friends, just by a matter of a text, a group text, and some emails, and a friend invites a friend, and I keep it limited just because of my capacity, but eventually, hopefully that can change. But literally, you know, it'll be like 30, 50 of us.
Wow.
And you know, the most that I've had in one location has been 300 kids. And
Wow.
I've gotten over 500 toys, and we've given them all away. So it's
That's
just
amazing.
Yeah, so we'll be there in March.
Oh, great. Oh my, so okay, so if somebody does want to somehow support you or help in any way, even if it was with money or donations, or the actual items, is there a way that they can connect with you if they were wanting to help in some way?
Absolutely. We have a Facebook page for Sunshine Alegria Outreach. We have an Instagram page for Sunshine Alegria Outreach.
And is that the name of it? Is that the handle on Instagram?
Yeah, Sunshine Alegria Outreach.
Perfect. So guys, if this is of interest to you, or if you're just wanting to get inspired, please go to the Instagram page, or you can go to the Facebook page as well, and you can help out in whatever way you can. That's so beautiful. Thank you for being more love to this, you know, just to humanity. I think it's wonderful.
Thanks.
So now I want to get into your success, and I know that you shared a little piece of it throughout your story at the beginning. But tell us a little more about your success in real estate and where you're at now. Because we've heard a lot about the beginning, but where are you at now and where do you want to be?
That was the first 7 years.
Yeah, there's 19, you said, right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Jeez. Well, so after I was a lender, it was 2008 to being, I became an REO agent representing banks and corporate clients, hedge funds. Basically, kind of it all happened so fast and happened all overnight. I mean, being a lender, I was getting phone calls of like, what's a short sale? What's an REO? I had no idea what that was. And one of my best friends at the time was working for a large bank corporation. So she was my first resource. And at the time I went to her, and I joined forces with another agent in the Valley. And this is when I moved to the Valley, because I was in West Covina before. That's where my career started, and I was there for the first 7 years. So I partnered up with this agent in the Valley, and we started traveling throughout the country, right where the market was just super shaky. And
which is impressive that you've got those REO accounts, because those aren't very easy to get.
No,
they're very difficult to get. And you know, for those of us who were in the business back then and watched the market crash, and we can all relate to this. And for my friends who are not in real estate, an REO account is really just, you know, bank accounts. So lending companies accounts where the house went into default, and now they're needing to either sell it or short sell it. So just to give you guys a little bit of understanding of how that works, but those accounts through these asset management companies are not simple to get. So, and I know you'll get there, but I just want to acknowledge that because that's super badass.
Yeah, well, we didn't know at the time. I mean, we just kind of were like, let's give it a try. So I ended up meeting this agent through, closing a transaction. I was representing the buyer, he was representing the seller, and we were just brainstorming with each other, just kind of like freaking out together, like, oh my God, where's this going, blah, 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 and that. And, we just, put our minds together, our resources together, and started pursuing these accounts, right? And we were told at the beginning that, listen, you're wasting your time, you're too late in the game. Only the people that have been in the last default round are the ones getting all the assets. And we're like, well, we don't know any better. We're going to keep trying, we're going to keep trying. So, I mean, literally we would travel to locations and we would have a confirmed appointment in a calendar confirmed by the asset manager or the director. And we would show up, be at their lobby in like Denver, and they weren't there. So these are like, so think about it as, instead of door knocking homes, we were door knocking banks, we were door knocking corporations, we were showing up to their lobby and just whatever it took until they saw us, right? And so that was my transition, like literally into the real estate world, coming from the lending side. Back in 2008. And then when we got our first account, we got our first asset, and it was a tiny little condo. And then he was like, listen, I think this is it. You need to move here. You need to move out here because I think this is it. And I was like, shoot, all right, okay. So literally I just closed shop where I was at and just moved out this way.
Wow.
That's how fast it happened. And long story short, from getting one asset, mind you, it took us almost a year to get our first account without making a penny. And we both left everything else that we were doing to pursue this new field. So from one day to another, one asset became 10 assets, 10 assets became 50 and 100. And, next thing you know, we're managing over 300, 400 assets at a time. And our best year, we sold almost 300 homes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great risk. Obviously, you literally risked it all.
I did. And it was just him and I, and then ended up becoming a team of 17. But it was a very rough period of the business that I was basically awakened to. I mean, you had no life. You were at the mercy of the banks and, the task. I mean, you know how that was, right? So it was a very grinding, if you will, to a whole nother level. Literally, sometimes at the beginning, this is the beginning of the recession, so we didn't know what the heck we were going to face. This is where people were killing themselves, and you start hearing all these things in the news. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, it was awful.
So
people losing their whole life savings, people losing all their assets, people losing their lives. Yeah, it was terrible.
So this is my first experience of the real estate side.
Oh my gosh. That's why you were able to succeed regardless. Like if you were able to succeed in that time, it was rough.
Yes.
And you experienced at a whole different level too.
Overall, very stretching. I grew so much out of that. I learned so much. I met so many amazing people. I just expanded to a whole another level, from learning to delegate, to build the team, to speak to CEOs, to speak to banks, to speak to corporate clients, to have those discussions, to create these, learn how to make these reports, to be able to communicate with these type of people and
negotiate.
Yes, absolutely. And then one of the things that made us very successful was my experience on the lending side. Because I was able to, if you're able to close the deals for the banks immediately and not let them fall out, as you would be graded. It was kind of like a scorecard in a way, right? So they would grade you on these kind of things, and this is how we would keep on getting more inventory, more assets, and so one just built on another, and But needless to say, right after that, I was so burnt out that I practically quit the business.
I laugh because I don't blame you. Like, it was so brutal, you guys. And you can all relate with the pain for those of you who are still in the business that were in it back then. So you quit. What did you do?
I was so burnt out. I honestly, at first I had no freaking idea what the heck I was going to get into, but all I knew, I never wanted to sell a house ever again in my life. That's all I knew for sure. I didn't want to do an open house ever again in my life. So I kind of took not really a break, but I mean, I still was doing real estate stuff, and I went into flipping some homes and doing some rehabs of some homes. I mean, I had some amazing connections. I was buying properties at, very cheap at the courthouses, and, partnered up with different friends, investors, etc. And then I tried doing some commercial, and, but I was just bored at the same time in a way, because I was just so used to the crazy grind. I mean, I'm telling you,
probably felt unproductive.
Unproductive, although I was being
you're probably being more productive than most people, but
I mean, from being at the office sometime till 1, 2 in the morning, and being back at the office at 8 in the morning, it was just like I was on vacation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're 8 hours? Oh my gosh, what am I doing?
I'm at the Four Seasons now. So so that was, I did that. I stopped, we split up, we got done with that and started just venturing off into these other things. And one day I opened up the newspaper, and I was there was a house in Bel Air that was being advertised for over 117 million or something like that, 109 or so. It was over $100 million.
Wow.
And I was like, what? Somebody is selling a house for over $100 million? You gotta be kidding me. And this is in my backyard. I should be doing that.
Yes.
Kid you not. I was like, are you kidding me? Really? Somebody's selling? And that was I'm going back to selling houses. But I ain't gonna be selling REOs. I'm gonna go after the luxury. And that was just the turning point for me. And that's when I joined the agency. That was in 2015. I remember meeting with my coach, and he's like, so you want to sell luxury, huh? And
I love the voice. The voice is awesome.
And I remember just sitting across the table from him, and I'm like, yes, why not? Why not me?
Oh, that's so good.
And with that, he didn't say a word, and he's like, okay. He's like, well, first thing you need to do is you need to join the agency. So that was that. That was the beginning of my journey.
I love so much that you literally opened up the newspaper. You saw this over $100 million house in Bel Air, and you got like upset, like something within you fired up for you to be
Yes.
like, I'm doing this. And how powerful that you saw that, you made a decision, I'm gonna be that.
Yeah.
Like you had enough belief in yourself that you said, I need to be selling those homes. And yes, why not me?
Why, I've always had that attitude. I'll tell you a little tiny story. I was 16 years old. I had a beat up Toyota Corolla, and I'm driving down the freeway. I have my mom in the passenger seat, driving down the freeway. I know exactly where I was at. I was driving on the 10 freeway in between Citrus Boulevard and on the 10 freeway coming towards East LA to drop her off at my aunt's house. And the roof is falling. It was two-tone because it was red and black. So my mom, we're chatting away, and I'm like, Mom, you see that car right there? I'm like, one day I'm gonna have that car, right?
What was the car?
It was a beautiful white Lexus that kind of looked like an egg. Remember those?
Oh, yes. Yep.
Back in the day. I was like, wow, I love that car. I remember loving that Lexus, right? And my mom looks at the car, and she in Spanish she says, mija, eso no es para nosotros, right? So nosotros no tenemos cosas así. That was in Spanish and English. So that's not for us. We don't have things like that. And I got so mad and infuriated with it, And I remember basically pretty much kind of yelling at her and saying, Mom, don't you ever say that to me. What makes that person driving that car different than me? Nothing. Well, you wait.
You just
one
gave me
day
chills.
I'm going to have that car. And my mom can tell you, that story. And I remember when I was 24 years old, I showed up to her house with my brand new luxury car at the time. And
what was the car? Curious to know.
It was a 5 Series BMW.
Oh, yes.
Man, it was a pretty big deal.
Oh my gosh, you gave me chills through that story. It's like those moments, like that decision that you just made.
Yeah.
That fire, and I've been there, and it shaped you. It shaped you into who you became and who you are today, and just makes me so happy. So happy for you.
Thank you. I think we all grow with people around us that try to impose their limitations on us. And that was my upbringing. I'm the oldest of 6. I raised my siblings as well during this period. I raised them for over 7 years. And
wow.
2 of them ended up working for me. One of them ended up working for me for over 5 years. And so I always tried to make sure that they knew they were capable of achieving anything that they could, and I didn't want them to go through the struggle that I went through without being with my parents and without my family since I was 12 years old, Wow. So all of that gives you fight. All of that just gives you, I've always known that you deserve better just because of whatever upbringing you have. I always known that I deserve better, that life is meant to be for more, right? So yeah, and that was another moment. And I was like, oh, heck no, we're gonna go sell $100 million homes now.
Right? And you do. Yeah. And she does, everybody.
Me, not yet. However, and I work for the most amazing firms here in LA that we broke the record of selling the first $100 million home here in LA.
Wow.
And we we broke another record just last year. So
extraordinary things. And, the agency is definitely that brand that is very unique and very luxurious and very exclusive, and so I just love the journey. I love seeing you with the best. And like you said, because you are that, and what is the difference between you and him, or you and her? And just really makes me proud.
thank you. So that was the beginning of the journey of pursuing my high-end luxury dream, and I won't stop until I achieve it.
I love it. Are you guys so empowered and inspired by this? Because I am. And I just thank you for sharing that. I know that this is going to impact, multiple people out there, and your hardships and the grind. And not only were you a 15-year-old girl just needing to survive, and at the same time you were also taking on a mother role, and all the downs and all the falls and all the overworking, and here it is. And I think it's so important for people to know. They always see the win, they always see the 20%, but they don't see the 80% of, and the rest of your life, of everything you've had to do to get to where you're at today.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a journey. Everything's a process. We can't speed things up. I'm sure not where I want to be yet. However, it's like I'm not going to stop until I'm there. And I think just I get a lot of questions like, oh, how'd you make that jump? You just do. That's it. You just make a decision and you do it.
I'm gonna plug in the question that I wanted to ask you anyway, because it's right with what you're saying. And that is, what is the tool that has helped you overcome those fears in that inner chatter? Because we all have it. So what has been the one thing that has helped you overcome that?
Well, for me, I'm a very spiritual person, and for me to me, it's all a God thing, to me, I ground myself, and for anybody else, they have their own beliefs, but to me is I believe in God in me, and I believe I'm here for a purpose, and I'm here to become the best version of me. And until there's always this little bug in me of wanting to do more, wanting to learn more, wanting to explore. So it's a combination of so many things, from I have a routine. I have my morning routine. I have my night routine. I love to go to church, and I love to, read, and I love to, meditate and pray, and, just really look within. And so I think that for me is what fulfills me. That's the only thing that has kept me going through all of my hardships and through everything that I've gone through, is really my spiritual strength and my strength in God.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. So I wish we could have more time, because I feel like I just want to know more, because you are absolutely extraordinary. But to finalize our time for today, I would love for you to leave the audience something, which is, what would you say the number one thing is that has contributed to your success in life? I know that there are many things, but if you could choose one, what would that be?
I think is just my grit and resilience to not give up, and really just not give up, because it's a fight. right? It's a fight, it's a daily fight, and mainly that fight is within your own thoughts, your own story that we keep on telling ourselves. So it's really just centering myself. Like I said, spiritually, that's my number one. That's my go-to. That's my shelter. That's where I go and find Gloria when she feels lost, when she doesn't have all the answers. I go and I search within. And I think that's just what gives me strength to go on to the next thing and the next thing and keep on pushing.
You're absolutely incredible. You have
Thank
a
you,
beautiful heart. Your strength and compassion and just heart is like so admirable. And I'm super blessed to have had the experience like this with you. And just thank you for your time. And thanks for sharing your story. And
I've been fighting to hold my tears back.
Aw, you're amazing. Thank you. So everyone, we, again, want to thank Gloria Castellanos for being our incredible guest today. And, we mentioned her nonprofit and, if you want to follow her on Instagram too, her handle is
Miss Gloria C. Yes,
and
you'll find me. That's my favorite social media.
It's mine too. That's why we plug in the Instagram. That if you want to be more inspired and, just continue following her story, she's absolutely wonderful. So thank you for listening, everyone. And thank you so much, Gloria. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.